Alrighty, so I just wanted to spend a moment talking about the last code along because this is it. And this last one contains some really important topics. But what I really appreciate about using Kevin Powell's content is that he makes this very approachable. Okay, you're about to get introduced to using a wrapper class to actually change how the page is being rendered, and responsive design, responsive images, a reset on that. And these are such good things to understand. So these are like kind of like you just have to check the box. Now, he actually really hones in on the fact that if you ever look at somebody else's code, they may not call it a wrapper class, they might call it a container. So, I mean, he drops some really good wisdom. So I'm going to say this. I've actually been hoping you've been doing this all along, but I'm going to make a special note on this one because these topics that you're about to learn, everything else we've been building has come to really the crescendo of what you want to walk away with, which is how to do responsive images, how to do a 2-column grid, how to use Flexbox to do your navigation bar. Okay. And then there's two parts in that one, and then more on the Flexbox. And then we end with, again, another really important concept of media queries. So I really suggest that you take your time, take a break if needed on this content, because here's the deal. This is ultimately what your site for the code along will look like. Okay. You see the idea of the columns here. You see the idea of the nav up here, okay? And I'm actually next going to be doing the video about the project because we have then integrated into our project all of these concepts that we've been learning. So taking the time to understand the gap, and that's the space between, taking the time to understand how you do 2 columns, because he gives you a really straightforward way to do it. And it can be, as I've taught this in the past and used other materials, they have made it, I think, a real challenge for people that are new, students who are new to these concepts. And I just really appreciate the way Kevin has done this. Okay. So, but really what this means is you need to take the time to actually allow yourself to really soak this in and do some additional research. This is where in attendance we'll talk about, some additional resources I will recommend as you're going through this because of the importance of the topics that you're getting here. Like they're just Flexbox, media queries, and the grid. Okay, if we just talked about those images or those concepts of how to do them, would be weeks of content to really master them. So remember, your goal is not necessarily to master them, but is to know how to implement them for your particular design. And what I want to say to you is when you output your design, when you update your design, this should be unique for you. I shouldn't see all of the CSS that he's covered as far as, how much gap do you put? Do you put an image on one side? For me, and you'll see my output in the project in the next one, once you finish this is where you uniquely make it your own. Okay. It's that you use what he's saying, but you customize the CSS. That's will be one of the things I look for. But anyway, I don't want to get ahead of the project too far. And these notes that you're taking are really important. I do actually look at them just to see if you've noted things that are in there. The more you can write this in your understanding, the better off it can really help you later as you start to review. Oh yeah, right? What was the approach to Flexbox? Setting up these classes using this justify content that Kevin shows. And he shows you actually a lot of the other ways you can handle that content. And what we're talking about here is on the menu, right? We ended up using Flexbox up on the menu. And then down here, we use grid to handle 2 columns. But we also made all the images, in this case, right? We've made them responsive, okay? And that's where, and also now the media query. So what is a media query, right? It's the idea, and probably you're going to get a duplicate of this because I'll do some of this in attendance, is when I get to a place, a certain resolution, then it changes the way the site responds. That's responsive design. So my suggestion here is to take the time, okay? Take the time to really give yourself an understanding. Matter of fact, if it was me and I was doing this as I was going through and clearing up the checkpoint commits, as I was actually playing along with it to kind of say, oh yeah, how would I then modify some of this? I generally do that. Okay, so I hope this at least gives you a checkpoint at this point to kind of say, hey, slow down a minute, especially on this last one. All right, see you on the next one.